I didn't Google this on Wikipedia or anything, but I heard someone present this that 6.4% of all the brands actually get to 100 units.
Yeah, really amazing. That's not an easy feat. And as you're growing, it's helping, right? It's helping all the franchisees with national presence, making the marketing a lot more efficient, economies of scale. So that's awesome. Congrats. So great business model. Obviously, a lot of people, especially if you have families, you don't have to have a family, but the kids, there's always various fundraising, and I feel like there's no consistencies. Sometimes you got inventory, you got to buy stuff, you got to hand it out later. Talk to us a little bit more specific on the model, and specifically, who is that right fit and what is their role in the business?
Yeah, no, you nailed it. When people hear fundraising, we think of right away what we've experienced. The candy bars, the order form
Yep.
for the magazine, just the mercy sale from your nephew, and they never stop. And you're right, there's never consistency. And so the challenge with it was schools do the best they can, but they're not resourced on the business acumen side. And there is no structure to fundraising, right? People see it as a commodity or a product in the way that you just explained it. And that is the first impression people get with this. But the right way to have success is it's a service brand. And so we're approaching this as a service brand. And what I mean by that, what the coaches and the schools and the activities want is they want something fast, and they want obviously the most amount of money they can get. So we do 1 week fundraisers, 100% digital, no order forms, no checks, no cashing. All the products are delivered home. So we've elevated the space to like an Amazon model for sports and activity groups. So we've given the tools to the schools that they don't have, including technology. And so why people come to Fundraising U is because we have a system that's fast, it's safe, we own our own technology. And to this point, this is a certified number in our ERP. We're averaging over $400 per student that engages us, which is 3 times the norm, and most fundraisers are 6 to 8 weeks. And so that's where we sit in a different place. Our ideal franchise owner, really, sometimes people think it's narrow and they think it's sports, or they think it's something they do in addition to their role. And this is a real business that has real margins and a way above average on it. And we have a 92% reoccurring rate on our customer, which is huge. And so our person, first and foremost, is somebody that cares and has high empathy and wants to make a difference. We've seen that come from, we have engineers and lawyers and former NFL players all the way over to teachers and coaches that want to stay in the space but want to have more. And so I think our avatar is somebody who cares, wants to make a difference. They want to control their time a lot more. It is a very friendly lifestyle role. We all know when a school calendar is, so we all know what you're going to be doing and when. And then they also obviously want to determine their own, I guess, value by the success of the business. And so we think it's very broad. If you care about people and you want to make a difference and you want to control your time and your value, those people fit inside of that. Right. And then obviously our characteristics of success are no different than any other one, right? You got to be competitive. You got to be coachable. You got to be organized. And in this model, because we're working with the best people in the world, in my opinion, who are coaches, there's got to be true empathy for what's happening.
Absolutely. And there's a need for it, and it just needs to be, I think, simplified. So, why just work with the soccer team when you can work with all the sport organizations and teams? I don't know what percentage that they typically have to fundraise for, because obviously they're getting funds from the school, and this is kind of over and beyond. But there's always going to be a need. This isn't going away, and I think keeping it simple. That's why people are scared to volunteer, is that they don't know what they're getting into, or they're going to have to make millions of deliveries, or have their garage full of peanut M&Ms or something like that. I remember in Little League, we used to just have boxes of candy just piling to the ceiling. So yeah, this is the fits there, and it sounds as if, as you mentioned, the experience necessary isn't needed in fundraising or even working with schools or even being a coach. It's more of just being able to network, relationship building and working with the schools, because naturally, as we were saying, like it's going to go from one sport to the next, or one organization. Doesn't have to be just sports, if I understood that correctly.
Yeah, no, there's a simple but great opportunity, and this is the easiest way to see it. So in each school, and the sizes are different, but on average, there's about 25 teachers or coaches in that school that could use help, anyway from basketball to band, choir, music, orchestra, flags, cheer, dance. And so think about the opportunity that you have 25 customers in the same building that all are trying to solve the same problem that they already know they have.
Right.
That's where it's tremendous. And that's why we see it as an outbound service rather than a commodity or product.
Love that. The buzzwords that we hear in the news, that we hear in conversation, and it's affected obviously many people's jobs is AI. Can you talk about the technology that's being utilized, as well as if AI is being invested in any of the technology and making the franchisees more efficient?
You're the merchant. You've got a merchant processor. You've got the agreement. You've got your pro form. You've anything you can do in the phone in our ERP. And because of that, we're very agile in the fact that we can evolve and change on any level. So AI is a great example of that, right? So when our reps go out and they want to learn to build the conversation to have with coaches, we're using AI and we plug that right in, and they can go out and every one of their conversations is not just recorded so we can give them feedback, but it takes the ideal script and it grades them and gives them next steps. Then that's automated and goes into the CRM, and it's all kept track of. So that's one way we're using AI. We also use it for functionality. Same example in our CRM or QuickBooks, the rep just talks to their phone and it populates the customer experience. And I mean, because of the foundation of it having an ERP, we are set up to bring in anything. But on the other side of it, where people are afraid of AI, not as a tool where they're afraid to be replaced, that's why I intentionally built a service, because you're not vulnerable to being as a product or a commodity. And that service can only be executed by a human in person. We have it all the time. People try to provide the product or the technology to the school, and there's very specific dynamics that make it faster, safer, and more money that's going to require somebody there.
The Fundraising U model is built on service, not product, making it less vulnerable to automation. But how is cutting-edge tech like AI actually being used to give their franchisees an unfair advantage? We dive into the technology stack next.